This is Kate Loree,
Hi,
and
everybody.
she's more qualified than I to speak on these topics. She actually has a degree in the field, unlike myself. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been a therapist for about 11 years. I have a private practice. My private practice is pretty much 97% people that are kinky or poly, swingers, porn stars, sex workers, etc. Every now and then I'll get someone who's transgender or in the LGBTQ realm, but for the most part it's kinky poly folks.
The reputation precedes you, from my understanding of what I've heard from others, and you are the therapist for non-vanillas in LA.
Well, thank you. I mean, there has been people that have kind of paved the way before me.
Sure.
Like Dossie Easton and Winston Wilde and people like that. But,
right.
Within LA, I try and be very out because let's face it, there's a lot of folks. I mean, the people in this room probably are more comfortable with their orientation and who they are. But there's a lot of people out there that struggle with a lot of shame. And if their therapist seems ashamed, how are they going to get over their shame so they can find their true sexuality and their true identity? So to me, it's really important that I'm very out on my website, and that I don't get into the details of what I do in my bedroom, but, I give the main brush strokes. If I go ahead and launch into that, like in 2003, my husband and I decided to be swingers. That's how we started out. We both had a history of feeling trapped in relationships, and we didn't want to continue to feel that way, and we loved each other too much to continue that pattern. And so we started out as swingers in 2003, so about 11 years ago. In 2007, he started a business called Dirty Dolly Photography that was a business that catered to a lot of people that wanted sexy pictures beyond what the normal boudoir photography is, but he did definitely a huge part of his clientele were swingers or people that were non-monogamous. It was at that point that we switched over to being poly because he was traveling literally half the year, and it didn't make sense to try and just do everything together anymore. And so that's how we switched over to being more, at first it started out just being kind of open and then migrated towards being more poly and having deeper and deeper relationships as we felt safer and safer with our adventures.
So you guys have gone through phases within your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we started out, and this is kind of how I work with my clients too. As far as rules and boundaries, I find that people, when they're new, they need more rules and boundaries. And when I say rules and boundaries, I don't mean it in that way, like a big anvil is going to come down from the sky and crush you if you break a rule. I mean it more from the standpoint of the rules and boundaries that you set are designed to work as harm reduction. And maybe you go out to a party or something like that with your partner, you have an adventure, you come back, you discuss, and maybe you change those rules and boundaries when you figure out they work or don't work. And over time, after you've been doing this for a while, you might get to a point where you don't need that many rules and boundaries, and pretty soon it's kind of the way you guys described it. It's almost more intuitive. Mm-hmm. You just know each other, you can trust each other and make good judgments kind of on a dime, and hardly ever make a boo-boo, pretty much know that it's going to be okay.
Well, especially you get into different realms of what you're doing when you're with each other versus when you're not with each other. You described that era as swingers, where you're doing everything together.
Right.
And if you're both of that mindset, if you're both attacking the next person together and bringing them into your relationship together, you're coming in as equals with that triangle of a partner. Right. But if you're exploring, when you're separated for months at a time, you're going to be exploring entirely on your own, and that's a different style of relationship.
I mean, for us, it basically felt like marriage 2.0. Like, you would think that moving from being a swinger to being poly or vice versa, would not be that different. But for us, at least for us, it felt incredibly different. We had to, and that's what I kind of tell my clients when they come in. It may be that they can seamlessly kind of move between realms, and there's certainly people that say that they're poly that look more like swingers and vice versa, and there's certainly hybrids. But sometimes you have a shift in how you work where you really have to go back to the drawing board, and it can sometimes cause stress within the relationship.